Let me begin the review with the final scene of the movie, when Oppenheimer meets Einstein in Princeton, and with shock and palpable fear tells him that he believes that they have created something that destroys the entire world. He also references their previous meeting, when Oppenheimer handed Einstein a paper, somehow proving that the chain reaction of an atomic bomb never stops. There is a smart metaphor here you might easily miss. Theoretically, there is a possibility that the fission reactions of an atomic bomb never stop, continuing releasing energy and burning everything. In the movie, Oppenheimer becomes aware of this possibility through Edward Teller's calculations, played by Benny Safdie, leading him to consult Einstein. However, Einstein has no clear response and returns the calculations to Oppenheimer. Upon returning to Berkeley through Hans Bethe's calculations, Oppenheimer is convinced that the chance of that catastrophic outcome is near zero. Then, practically, the Trinity test makes it appear that Teller's assumptions were wrong, and the chain reaction comes to an end somewhere. So, after all, what does Oppenheimer mean with his final conversation with Einstein? The chain reaction, does Oppenheimer believe, never stops. During the war, Oppenheimer and his team concluded that fission reactions are not infinite. However, after the war, Oppenheimer had strong doubts if the nuclear arms race, now widely escalating between the United States and the Soviet Union, would ever end. At the spot where Oppenheimer stands a few years after the war, it seems that the nuclear competition between superpowers finally destroys the world. More bombs, bigger bombs. Each developed country reacts to others by building more powerful bombs. This is a chain reaction that Oppenheimer believes never ends. The plot is filled with such details and metaphors, but I guess this metaphor I explained is Nolan's favorite one. He ends his movie with this, and it's interesting to realize that the possible endless chain reaction between atoms takes a new meaning in the relationship between nations, whose ambition and blind competition may eventually destroy them all. This is the point which Oppenheimer intended to explain years after the war, and this is the point which Nolan intends to remind us now. The plot can be divided into three subplots. First, the rise of Robert Oppenheimer until becoming the director of Manhattan Project in 1942. Second, Oppenheimer's security hearing in 1954, conducted by the AEC, United States Atomic Energy Commission. And third, Louis Strauss' nomination for Secretary of Commerce in 1958. All three parts are intertwined, and Nolan skillfully travels through time and places. This is one thing we are all sure he has mastery in. After the war, during McCarthy era, Oppenheimer faced accusations about his left-wing political background. He had some communist thoughts in the 30s, and his brother Frank was a known communist. Worse, his mistress, Jean Tetlock, a member of Communist Party, was found dead in 1944 in the bathroom. Oppenheimer finds himself an easy target in the era of the Red Scare. His old opponent seized this opportunity, hoping that Oppenheimer's method will be forever finished. Finally, in 1954, he was called for a security hearing backed by AEC chairman Louis Strauss, who, as Nolan tries to show us, was envious of Oppenheimer's sublime position among scientists. Nolan beautifully brings this resentment into the picture. Let me return to that key scene, where Oppenheimer goes to Einstein and Princeton. This scene is captured twice, at the beginning and at the end. At first it comes as a mystery, and at the end it is a revelation. The mystery lies in the conversation between Einstein and Oppenheimer. We see Einstein leaving Oppenheimer, crossing Louis Strauss, not looking at his face, sword with a frown. To Louis Strauss, this behavior is unbearable. He didn't expect this from Einstein. Cynically, he thinks Oppenheimer turned Einstein against him, and this is the root of his resentment. The world is not that unfair, and Louis Strauss' resentment comes back to him in his Senate hearing for Secretary of Commerce. He's questioned mercilessly, and worse, most questions are about Oppenheimer. Finally, Louis Strauss fails, losing the membership in the cabinet. This cycle of fission and fusion in Oppenheimer's life, as Nolan hints, is suggestive and informative, but somewhat confusing. There are tons of characters, events, dialogues, and facts. It takes time for us to unravel, to digest what's going on screen. Nolan takes a controversial period in modern American history and sincerely tries to give us an objective picture. To do so, he is forced to consider each event from every possible point of view. He is forced to explain a lot, to show us a lot, and bring a lot of information into the picture. Consequently, we watch a Wikipedia-like biography of Oppenheimer. The visual effects are terrific. We are drawn into the intricate, imaginative, and beautiful mind of Robert Oppenheimer. He was eccentric, smart, important, and impressive. His character seems conflicted. He is one of the most influential figures of our world. No doubt, look at how in our time countries are concerned about each other's nuclear arsenal, how specific the role of nuclear energy is in international relations. The ghost of Oppenheimer is present inside every single atomic bomb. It's his legacy, and all the destructive is unanimously considered a breakthrough. It's not clear whether Oppenheimer regretted the invention of the atomic bomb, as Nolan portrays held moral considerations. They were going to invent a mass-destructive device, and they were aware of that. But to Oppenheimer and his colleagues, the Nazis were demons, and this justifies any means against them. Ironically, that bomb was never used against Germans and fell on Japanese. At the end of the war, Oppenheimer gradually realizes that atomic competition is going to be out of control. This is the moment he decides to oppose nuclear development programs. Robert Oppenheimer finally emerges as a father whose child has become so uncontrollable that he dedicates the rest of his life to bringing it under control. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe to help me improve my channel. Like my video and comment on it. I'm curious what you think about my reviews.